Hi, I'm Mike Messier. Welcome to Messier Mantra. On this episode, we have Boston film family filmmaker Rick Chandler. Now, some of you may know him as Richard Chandler, but I like to call him Rick. Hey, Rick.
How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing today?
Good, good.
And you've been at this for a while. I would say your genre is the horror, and you've got a new project called Parts Unknown, which has a really good friend of mine, William Dukoff, and it's got elements of pro wrestling in it too. So
Yes.
let's just talk about that project, Parts Unknown, for a while.
Where would you like to start?
Did you write the script as well?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And what's the story about?
Okay, the thing about my movies is the stories are never very linear, so just bear with me if this is ridiculous.
No problem.
But it starts off, it's like a family of professional wrestlers called the Von Strassers, and they've been going through some rough times financially because they've lost all their star power, drugs and alcohol and bad decisions. And so the character that Will plays, he's kind of like the patriarch of it. And he's looking for like a new bloodlust. And, you know, they start killing people. And there is like a supernatural element to it too, because, you know, it's one of my movies, so it can't make too much sense, so, you know.
To me, I wonder if you were inspired by the true story of the Von Erich family or the Atkinson family out of Texas.
Yeah.
And kind of took the darkest possible side to them, and how in real life the pro wrestling fans know that Von Erichs had several suicides and early deaths of the wrestlers, and they had the father, Fritz Von Erich. And it sounds almost like in this story, your character that William is playing is kind of like that Fritz character, but if he did something about it, to avoid maybe that family curse, but brought a different type of curse to the family.
Yeah, it actually was inspired. When I wrote this, I wanted to incorporate some of those, like almost that dark folklore of professional wrestling. And I think a lot of horror fans that have no clue about this stuff really just thought it was peppered in there. They didn't really understand it. But I think like fans of both were like, oh, well, okay, this is dark, like darker than I thought, because you're right, because, you know, you got the Von Erichs, and that's exactly what it is, because there's a lot of, I don't want to give anything away, but there's some pretty, you know, how the Von Erichs turned up, and a lot of their personal demons and problems are what this family's going through. And he is like a Fritz Von Erich. He does beat them up, and he does manipulate them into performing or not performing, depending on, you know, what he wants. And that leads to this kind of a demonic element of the story.
And you get the perfect guy in William Dukoff, because William actually wrestled in world-class championship wrestling in the 80s, and I've seen him wrestle Abdul the Butcher, and I'm like, man, you survived Abdul the Butcher and lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, he was perfect. He helped to get the ring rust off of some of the other actors who are also wrestlers too, that's a tough combination to make happen, and he helped us with that too.
Let's check out I think we've got the trailer. You did kind of a nice edited trailer for us for our purposes here in Seekonk. So Cody and Kevin in the back here will set that up for us. This will be the trailer for Parts Unknown.
A piece of a trailer.
Piece of the trailer. And we'll check that out.
Get out of my world! Get out of my universe! For tonight, all beauty must die.
Why did she request that match?
It's a Von Strasser. Take one guess.
She wants to hurt me. On purpose?
This might be your last night in the business. It's gonna be a night of Bailey legal matches as is. Maybe she wants to put you over. Make you look good upon your debut.
She wants me dead.
I've seen the big time. I wrestled all over the world, little girl, and I'll get back on TV.
I've destroyed my body, pulverized my brain. I can't remember where I've been, who I've seen, who I've loved, who I've hurt. I can't walk up a set of stairs without being in pain.
First off, we need a plan. The bodies are already starting to pile up. The cops are going to be onto us.
I think he came from the swamp. He told us we had higher call.
Do you know what it's like to feel something all the time? To hear their voices without end?
I don't know what you have inside you that keeps that
flesh rotted.
That was Parts Unknown, kind of an edited trailer for the show here. I like that. And I noticed some familiar faces. The Devil's Reject.
Yeah.
Pro wrestler, I know him from Top Rope Wrestling days. Really good guy, despite being the Devil's Reject. But,
Yeah. His tag team partner was in there too. That was the Devil's Doorman. That was both those guys.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to have them on set.
Yeah. And did they have fight scenes or speaking parts or what?
They did, yeah. They had a little bit of a kind of a, I guess you want a backstage altercation with a couple of guys. You saw it like very briefly in that trailer.
Yeah. And in this family story, are any of Duchov's wrestling children in the movie Parts Unknown? Are any of them female wrestlers?
They're actually brother and sister.
Okay.
But yeah, if you saw from that, Sarah Michelle and Alex Hawk play the siblings.
Okay.
Alex was his manager in this, so he's kind of like a Harvey Whippleman kind of
Right,
character. He
right.
gets beat up and stuff throughout it. Sarah's kind of like the villain. She's the big like villain of it all, actually. She's like the last kind of hope for them to get back on TV, but she's also like self-destructive and very violent, and does not actually follow Duchov's character. She's like her own. She has like her own like kind of motivations. It's kind of the true villain of the movie.
Was this your first horror film that had elements of wrestling in it, or have you done that previously?
This is the first one.
Now, I know you're, like myself, a big-time pro wrestling aficionado. When you went into this, because sometimes I see, unfortunately, making a movie is like it's like fighting a war, because there's something that's going to be casualties, but you have to go in there with a kind of a general gamesmanship or plan if you want it to be successful. And when you were going into this thing, were there any thoughts about, okay, I'm making a wrestling horror movie, and the aesthetic, or how much of the business of wrestling do you want to give away? How much do you want to make it seem true to the art form? And everyone's got a different opinion on that, and especially the last 5 or 10 years with different types of independent pro wrestling groups that do outlandish things. Some of it I like, some of it I don't, but everyone's going to have their own opinions on that. What was kind of your mindset going into this thing once you've taken wrestling into your horror genre?
I think I tried to keep the horror elements as horror. A lot of the matches in it were extremely violent, like body parts getting cut off type of violent. So I think that was the horror element that we tried to put in there, kind of like a barely legal, almost like, underground, like Japanese deathmatch type of thing. Right. Something that probably wouldn't even happen in this country, but probably does happen somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it was normalized in this world of Parts Unknown. Like that's how these people were making or the Von Strassers who were kicked out of the big leagues. This is where they were now making their money, this kind of like pseudo ECW, but even more illegal type of venture, and they did expose the business.
Right.
You know what I mean? We all like the way the business, like it was like they talked about kayfabe and all that. So
right.
Like it wasn't supposed to be real.
Yeah.
But it got real. You know what I mean?
The work becomes a shoot, so to speak.
Things became a shoot. People got hurt. They tried to kill each other, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember just the last couple of years being on some of the Facebook wrestling groups, and there's a common clip or a popular clip of a wrestler taking a weed whacker to another guy, and then I'm like, what is this? And then it turns out that the guy is pretty famous. I think his name was Nick Mondo, I want to say, and if I've got that right. And then he actually was this Nick Mondo guy is like got his own biography on Amazon Prime Films, and it's about him. being a pro wrestler in this kind of outlaw territories, super death match, super hardcore.
Yeah.
And he had like a weird Christ complex. Like he felt like he had elements of wanting to pay for his own sins. It's pretty deep that some of these guys who are doing this backyard stuff, they're not stupid guys, but they have something about them that either feels like they enjoy the feeling of pain or they want to push that razor's edge, so to speak, of pain and getting hurt and see how far they can push themselves. So it's pretty fascinating.
It's like the shock value. Like they want the audience to like be sitting there stunned, or I think they're feeding off of that energy, even if the audience is 2 people. And this is something a lot of people didn't understand about Parts Unknown. I didn't want like 50 extras to show up.
Right.
I wanted it to be like 10 people, and people were like, this isn't realistic. I'm like, no. They're doing this. They're killing themselves for 10 people.
Right.
Like that's the idea. That's the level that they are on.
Right. Yeah, I just saw a clip last night, maybe you saw it too, on the Facebook wrestling groups of a guy laid out on a table, another guy probably about 400 pounds.
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, I saw that one.
He bounces off the ropes, he flips over the 400-pound guy.
Yeah.
Flips over and basically lands butt on chest of the other guy. The guy is prone on the table. The table smashes instantly. And the guy on the table is pancaked between this 400-pound guy and the concrete floor, and then the referee gets out of the ring, and the referee checks on the big guy that just squished him. Not the guy that got squished, but he checks on the... And I'm just like, and so then doing a little bit of research, someone said, well, this was a charity show for cancer. And I made a comment on Twitter. I said, have a bake sale. You don't have to... I mean, I respect that they're trying to raise money for kids with cancer, but let's not squish a guy in that process. But it's nuts.
Parts Unknown's kind of like that. I don't know if I could say what happens here, but let's just say people lose body parts. So it's that stuff inspired me.
Where, if people want to see the film, will they go to your website, bostonfilmfamily.com, or how do they?
If they go to the
film?
website, or it's either the website bostonfilmfamily.com, or they can find me on Facebook at Boston Undead, and they can buy it through me. It is going to have a release through Wild Eye Releasing. I don't have any dates or anything like that, but it is being processed.
But if people look you up on the bostonfilmfamily.com, they can find your Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff.
Yeah, they should be able to go to the website and find me pretty easily.
And before we get off the wrestling film topic, did you, when you were growing up, Rick, did you have any wrestling films that maybe planted some seeds? Even if you were a real little kid, you'd turn on the TV and some wrestling movies playing. Did any wrestling movies plant seeds with you think, or maybe not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Probably just the product itself.
Yeah. What was some of your favorite federations when you were as a wrestling fan?
I watched the old WWF.
Yeah.
When I got older, it would be cool to sneak, the ECW in to see, the crazy stuff. Again, it was like that suspension of disbelief. Like, wow, is that? But yeah, that's probably it. When I was a kid, I grew up. I was a typical kid. I was into the Hulk Hogan's and the Undertaker and stuff. We actually have Jake the Snake in this movie.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go.
Yeah, we brought in a very dark persona. He voices the demon.
Oh, so, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What was Jake like to work with?
He was actually cool.
Yeah.
He just did a voiceover, so it was pretty quick, but
right.
Yeah,
if people ever saw that movie Beyond the Mat, or even The Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts on Netflix, I mean, this guy has got a life story.
Yeah.
And talk about the Keith Richards of professional wrestling. I mean, Jake's been through a lot, some by his own choice, some not by his own choice, and he's still here. And he's doing the DDP yoga and
I
great
think
shape.
that kind of saved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good because, I mean, a guy like that is still a lot to contribute. And he's even doing promos for AEW now. Let's take a look at some of the still photos you sent over. If we could, we've got some still photos from Rick and his films. Here's your logo. I like that. Boston Film Family. Who did the logo? Did you do it yourself, or you have someone else?
Somebody.
Zelly?
Yeah, it says Zell.
Zell. Okay, cool. I like that. It's like a kind of like an amphibian of some kind. Like a.
He's supposed to be a sea monster of some kind.
Nice. I dig it. That's very cool. That's the logo for the Parts Unknown film. Let's see what else we got. Okay, here we go. Nice. Parts Unknown. Is that like the official movie poster or?
Yeah.
Nice. Let's see what else we got. Oh, cool. Who's this?
That's Christina Costello under all that.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you know her, but
I do. Yeah, she's cool.
She's under all that, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the demon that's in the movie.
Nice. Who's this?
That's Alexandra Coppola.
Oh, yeah.
She is a lead in Parts Unknown.
Nice.
As well. She's actually the kind of the good guy in it, sort of.
Yeah. Anti-heroist.
Yeah.
Now, this is a pretty intense moment.
And that's Sarah, who plays one of the von Strassers, attacking Lizzie Havoc, who plays her rival, or her frenemy and rival in this.
The blood work is pretty good. Who's your makeup artist?
V Height did most of the work. She does like haunted house stuff on the most part, but she works on this movie. We had like a team of people.
Nice work from the team then. I like this shirt, All Beauty Must Die.
Yeah, that's from a clothing company that they're in South America somewhere, and like we hooked up with them. They designed that. They put that in there.
Nice. Who's this?
That's Sarah Michelle.
Okay.
That's at my doctor's office.
And who is this?
That's Sarah again.
Oh, cool. That looks a lot different from the last one. Yeah. Now, can you tell us about the gas mask or the
That's because she got so messed up from a death match that she was using the oxygen.
Okay, oxygen, yeah, gotcha. And here we now this is an interesting photo. What's going on in here, Rick?
There is, you can't really see it from the photo, but there's an eyeball in her hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hate when that happens.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Big Van Vader versus Stan Hansen. There you go. Now, is this? What is the book? It's like a tarot card reading, but it's a book, not tarot cards. What's going on?
Yeah, there's a point in the movie where Alexandra's character goes to, I don't feel Malantha Blackthorn, but she's kind of like a Scream Queen-esque person, and she's a fortune teller. So she like goes to her to act, like she's trying to figure out why she has these like abilities. So she goes to her looking for explanation. So the book has no real significance other than a prop, but that's what's going on in the scene.
Right. Let's see. Oh, this is a cool shot.
Yeah, and that's Alexandra.
Now, are these stills from the film, or are these still photography? Did you have an on-set camera person taking? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the last couple were on-set stills.
Okay. This looks really cool. Very good, man. Very cool stuff. What would you describe your genre to be, Rick?
I mean, I'd say it's horror more than anything, but it's just kind of like, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I'm big with characterization, but also violence.
Right.
But so it's not always horror. Like I've done crime, I've done exploitation, even comedy at one point. But it's always had, like a certain, like exploit. I used to say exploitation, but
right.
I think exploitation now people often think of like trauma.
Right.
And it's not like that.
Right.
It's like a serious version of that. So I don't know what you really want to. You could say grindhouse, I guess.
Grindhouse is probably a better term.
You might be able to use that term, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have another film, Witch Hunt, aka Witch Hunters? Tell us about that one.
Okay, so that recently had a name change, thus, Witch Hunters. But that was something, that's an interesting story because we shot like a 50-minute version. That's all it was supposed to be in like 2015. And then, it got picked up by a distributor. Alchemy Works is putting it out. It's coming along. It should be out soon. I don't have any dates, but so we shot more stuff for that, and then we put it together. So it's like there's this is a complicated one, but it's like a group of witches, sort of speak. They're not really witches, but let's just pretend they are. They show up to this town and they're kind of doing stuff, and this priest gets nervous and he kind of gets mixed up with the wrong crowd, and the wrong crowd is these like 2 witch hunters from Eastern Europe, and they come in with a whole slew of problems, and it gets different people in the town involved.
Who play your witches, like your central characters? Who are some of your actresses or?
The priest was played by Graham King. He was the priest. His nemesis is the town sheriff, played by Tony Wright.
Okay.
You might know Tony. The witch, the central witch, was Lilith Astaroth.
Yes.
And the witch hunters are myself and Carver Riot.
I know Lilith, great singer too. She had like a death metal band. So it was Sorrow Seed or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, she really was quite a performer. And you told me that she's kind of splitting her time between Boston and other parts of the country now.
Yeah,
so.
she's all over the place. Yeah.
Have you lived in the Boston area most of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like it?
It's okay. It's expensive. I
Yeah.
mean, it's expensive. That's the first thing I'll say. Other than that, it's cool.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Rick. The horror genre, to me, it seems like it's like a whole community of people that seem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they seem pretty supportive of each other. Is that like when you go to these Rock and Shocks or different horror cons or on the online community? It seems like the horror world of film fans and filmmakers and actors, it seems like a pretty good scene. Is that accurate, or is there more to it than that?
I think it's more supportive than other indie genres.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's as supportive in New England, you know, because everybody has a big ego. But
Right.
when I travel around, people are like, "Oh, hey, you're that guy from whatever," and like, yeah, there is some camaraderie, more so than if you made like cop movies or comedies or something.
Right.
Actually, that is true. I feel like people will support it on social media, especially people from like other parts of the world.
Yes.
You know, they'll be into it, like more so than other things.
There's a guy who does a website. I'm trying to rack my brain real quick, out of New Jersey. His name is Michael as well, and he has like a really supportive website for horror films. You know, and it's just to me, horror film fans are very loyal. They're very knowledgeable about the genre.
They're like collectors.
Right.
You know, sometimes they want a movie in their collection to say, I met this director. And like, that's cool, because like, again, as an independent film guy, like, you can go into like you can go everywhere and people are like, I don't care what you're doing. But then you'll go to like a horror con and people will be like, so who's in this? They don't care if it's like an unknown actor. They just want to know who it is, what they're wearing, what the gore is like, what the fight scenes like. So it is cool. I mean, I am into that, which is why I like to go to things like Rock and Shock and stuff. I mean, people are into it, and that's always a plus for a guy that, you know, obviously has a small fan base.
And it reminds me of the wrestling world.
It's like it, yeah.
You know, where I'm like, oh yeah, you know, Rick Martel beat Coco Beware, the dark match of WrestleMania 6. How could you not know that? You
Yeah,
know, like,
exactly,
you know,
yeah.
it's obscure information. And so to me, it's interesting that you're really balancing those two genres, horror and wrestling, you know. And is there a lot of crossover with the fans, you think, or?
I thought there was going to be a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like there was, though, when I did wrestling cons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, but you know what people do though? They come in and they spend like $500 on autographs.
Right.
And then they're just tapped out.
Right.
You know, and I think that's just a common thing I'm seeing everywhere now. And they're just burnt. They're burnt from it. So I don't know what's up with that phenomenon, but I think there is some crossover.
Yeah.
I think once the movie's distributed and it comes out on video on demand, I think then you'll start to see people, you know, renting it and checking it out. They kind of like both things.
Is DVD ownership still a thing with the horror fans, more so than, say, the average person? Oh, I'll watch it on Netflix, I'll, you know, see it in the theater. But I used to love when the DVDs and the DVD commentaries were the big thing. I love that. I still have thousands of DVDs of movies because I love DVD commentaries. But are horror fans still collectors of the actual hard copy DVD?
I'd say more of like the classics that came out in the 80s and 90s than what I'm doing. But yeah, they will go for that a little bit more than the average person that will just watch it once on Netflix or Amazon, you know.
Rick, we got about 2 minutes, so we're going to wrap this episode. We're going to do a second follow-up episode. But I just want to ask you, do you have any mantra for the Messier Mantra? Messier Mantra, a slogan, an expression. Think of something quick. Something that, maybe a quote from one of your films, maybe a quote from one of your characters. Something to live by, something to die by. What do you think?
Man, you're putting me on the spot on that one. I'll take the tagline from Parts Unknown, all beauty must die.
Well, like I said, that shirt is cool. I like that shirt, especially on the young women who, you know, pretty beautiful women. So you have the right people wearing that.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming, you know, was one of the ladies in that picture one of the wrestlers? One of the brothers,
they both were wrestlers.
Gotcha.
Actually,
yeah. Very cool. Have you seen, just real, as we have about a minute left, have you seen any local wrestling promotions around lately?
Oh yeah.
What have you been going to see?
I went to some shows at Big Time Wrestling, Bell Time, Showcase. There's a couple more too.
Big Time had Sting a few years ago. I think I saw you there.
Yeah.
They had Sting and Ron Simmons.
Yep.
And Mick Foley was a special.
I went to see Sting at one of those.
Yeah.
I think it was Big Time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, in Webster.
I think you were there.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It's cool to see, especially for me seeing Ron Simmons, because I was there when he beat Vader for the title in Baltimore as a child.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, so I was able to tell him that story. Of course, he knew the story. He was the guy that did it. But I was like, hey, I was in the audience. Well, Rick, we're wrapping up this episode. We're going to have you on a second episode. We're going to talk about your creative process.
Oh, boy.
But well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for watching this episode of Messier Mantra with Rick Chandler of Boston Film Family. We'll see you next time right here on Messier Mantra.